Ladies and gents, welcome. I'm listening to the effects of music listening on the brain activity. After 2 weeks, the activity of the brain is changed.
And finally, we have seen a strong reduction of interhemispheric asynchronous and an increase of the P2 response only after 1 week. So furthermore, an auditory test battery was performed with elementary discrimination tasks and pattern recognition tests like the pitch preference test to see the subjective components of perception. So here we found general auditory increase of the thresholds over time, and interestingly, dyslexic children consistently showed poorer discrimination thresholds. So finally, this interplay between nature and nurture was integrated to a novel neurodevelopmental model of the human auditory system, where we see different paths for the stable biological dispositions and natural observational influences, and at the other side also the effect of learning-induced plasticity. So our results have far-reaching implications for research, for musical practice, and also for therapeutical aspects. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna follow along because I'm busy trying to get some music playing, but took some screenshots.
Thank you so much, and we have time for one fast question.
One fast question.
Thanks, Peter. It seems you equate the number of Heschel's subfocations, the number of Heschel's gyri, with the size of the auditory cortex. And I was wondering, if I remember correctly, then Heschel's gyrus does not correspond one-to-one, for example, with primary auditory cortex. It's straight over the Heschel's gyrus, but it doesn't correspond. So even if somebody has, let's say, 5 gyri, it doesn't mean that the auditory cortex or the primary auditory cortex is necessarily larger? Or can you comment on that?
Yeah, exactly. So auditory cortex includes different fields that have primary areas, secondary areas, and even on the Heschel gyrus you have primary and secondary areas. And the definition of the border between Heschel gyrus and plum temporale is in our study related to the anatomical connection, so that we have a first complete sulcus that defines then the border between Heschel gyrus and plum temporale. And surprisingly, there are so many different unifications and shapes, and so when doing fMRI, it's possible to then argue more precisely what is part of the primary auditory cortex and what is part of parabelt and belt areas. This is not presented by the structural data.
Thank you
So it's
much.
complex.
Thank you.
It's not necessarily an increase, an expansion of the auditory cortex. It's not necessarily seeing when the gyri are expanded.
We're going to experience something completely different.
I don't know about you, but I'm certainly in need of some physical activity. And fortunately, we just happen to have here a musician and music educator, Elisa Seppänen from Sibelius Academy of University of Arts, and she's going to involve us all in some rhythm-related activities.
Kiitos. Thank you. First of all, I want to say that I'm very honored of this invitation of coming here today and listening all these amazing results and research and listening all the questions that has arisen here again in this seminar. So thank you for being here and doing the work. We really appreciate it in our practical work as well, of course. So now I'm very excited to look at the space first and look at the people. Have you looked around? Look around a bit, like you are many here, okay? And you've been sitting the whole day, clapping around. Let's clap a bit. Yes? Nice. And this is a sign of thank you. And then listen to your clapping a bit. Like how do you clap actually when you clap? Like applause for a good performance. What sound? Yes? Okay. So there are different clapping here, and I would like to invite you to clap the bass clap. Here. Oh, it was a good performance. Yes. Or then like alto. Yes. Well done. Okay. Or soprano, can you find it? Nice. Well done. Now choose your favorite. 1, 2, 3, your favorite. Wow. Nice.
Only
Beautiful
fun for
orchestra.
musicians.
Can we hear the clapping coming from behind? And then you start clapping when you hear it behind you, right? When you start hearing it coming closer to you, you start clapping. So
Interesting.
from the very back, you're clapping.
A wave.
It's coming, coming, coming. Wow, thank you. Sure. Beautiful. Can you do it eyes closed? So when it starts from there, you start hearing it comes closer and then it comes like a wave over you. Let's try it. Ready? Thank you. Wow. Did you hear how beautiful it was? Wow. From now on, experience the clapping as a music. It's a musical sound. It brings us together. It makes us want to collaborate together as well. It's an amazing, powerful thing. Now I would like to test because I love the space. So let's have the clapping coming from the side way. Like from there. And it goes that way. And when it reaches you, then you throw it back. So you always stop when you have done it.
You will stop when you have done it.
Let's try. From there. What you gonna do then? Okay, then we need the whole body, right?
Nah, it's weird.
Now from this side we send some stepping sound back there. Okay, let's go from here, from the front, and it moves on.
What the fuck?
Short. Wait, it could be, for example, this way. The Eurovision steps, you know? This is the first step. Let's do it. Wow. Now we move simultaneously, everybody the same direction. Yes. And it goes in this way. Aha. Okay. So it is like this. You roll, you sing. Dun, 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 dun. New roll, you sing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. New roll, you sing. 1, 2, 3. so well, and now we just focused also on the, yeah, let's hit the beat all the time. Never stop it. So now we focus a little bit the quality of clapping, okay? We just practiced. So we take one bass, alto, and then soprano, okay? So bass, okay.
Ah,
Oh, good. Okay, you can keep on this. But I will set the countdown because you are amazing. This group here will start.
what's going on?
It's just like this. New row and new row and new row and new row. You know your row? The second, the third, here, and the last one here. Okay. It's already put to blocks. It's like blocks like this for me. Thank you, organization. There's 1 and 2 and first move start. New row, new row, new row, new row.
Not liking the melody.
New row, new row, new row, new row.
Nah, what is this? Okay, let's start again.
Well, it was very nice. Well done. Me running around a bit. Thank you for that. Yeah, oh, don't sit yet, just yet. We changed because we were like 1 Eurovision step. But what about if we go it this way? Okay? You have a little space there, so take it back and front. Back. And because we are in the Neuroscience Conference, we need some challenge for the brain. Ready for that? So first is boom. This could come from, for example, coast of Brazil, Ciranda rhythm pattern. But let's add something. Okay, be careful with the change. Listen once, me only. Okay? Yay. Ready for next change. Careful with the change. Yes. Yeah, you're good. The change is coming. Uh-oh. Okay, change is coming. Uh-oh, me adding something more.
Neuroscience
Okay,
Conference.
more coming.
Music.
Uh-oh. Yeah. of your own to help your memory. Hey! Boom, ta-ta, doo-doo. Hey! Boom, ta-ta, doo-doo. Hey! You can do it. Boom,
Da da. Doom. Hey. Doom. Da da. Doom doom. Hey.
relax. Boom, ta-ta, hey, one more time. Boom, ta ta, boom, boom. Last time. Boom, ta ta. Hey, okay. Kiss your hands. We are not done yet. But we can change our walking. Dun, dun, dun. Baby, boom, dun, dun, dun. Yes, the front row is showing the way. Da, 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 choo, da, da, da. Are you ready for the hands? Are you ready for the hands? They are coming now. Da, da, dum, dum. Hey,
Da da. Da da da. Doom. Nah, it's gotta be faster. Da 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 da.
dum, dum. Hey, dum, da, da, dum, dum. Hey, okay. Whew. Let's move to this very Finnish step. This is Finland. Boom. Okay. And first and fourth row is going to do the basic rhythm.
Oh da.
Boom, ta ta, dun dun. The second and third, you can do whatever you like. It's improvisation thing, or we call it exploring first.
Okay, you're out of your job. Doom. Where is this? There you go. Doring. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Jag added the brr brr. Let's see what happens if I make it faster. Faster, faster. Faster, faster. Because we gotta make it faster, faster. Keep it interesting, you know? It's okay. Okay, what we can do is now copy this. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. No, I'm copying this one. So bam, 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 bam. All right, bam. You're going downtown. Let's see. Now we've accelerated it all. We've accelerated it all. And bam. What's up? Brother, always here to support my man Jazz Carnage and Omar Al Siddig. Nice to see you guys. Let's see what we're getting to. Hey, it's been a while since I've done actually Dark Trap. Let's make it darker. Maybe some low pass. Definitely some reverb. You know, the flex. A bit less of that pluckiness. All right, we're getting there. Just gonna clone that, see what we can do with another sound that's similar. We want dark, because we're looking for. Should I just go with it? Let's see, this is it. This is it. This is it. This is the time. This time has come. Which one is sounding better? Yo, yo, yo. There was a Neuroscience Conference that I was attending, and let's see where they're at the moment. They were clapping along and dancing along, so no more neuroscience. Oh, there you go.
And it propagates up through the dorsal
You see that?
stream as opposed to your parietal cortex around there.
Yes, you do. Fantastic.
Area or the SMA here, where the information moves into the basal ganglia, and then ascending auditory predictions.
The groove. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for some groove. And they're giving us the neuroscience of groove.
Regenerated and then back
Hey.
down to primary auditory cortex. And so at some point you get synchronous movements to the beat.
At some point, you synchronize your movements. So, okay. Let's synchronize your movements.
So, put in words, can we quench challenge the groove by disrupting the SMA, in allusion to the original plan.
Let's see what we can do. Da da da, a bit slower. Ba, ba, da da da. Let's see what we can do.
Primary visual cortex at 80%.
Da da da. Let's see if we slow down the tempo. It would be kind of ironic if this is not groovy at all. And we got the neuroscience of grooviness coming up. Tempo change was good, yeah. Oh damn, what happened here? Okay, that was a good start. Step by step, we put in the grain. Woo! That's some groove for sure. What are you saying about groove?
Ear toolbox, invented right here in Finland.
There's no vocals.
The problem with vocals is that there are preferences for different timbres and genders. Lyrical content obviously will modulate affect, so we wanted to avoid all of that. And this is just a snippet here of the graphs from this preprint over here, the online study, showing that yes, as pulse entropy increases, so do the subject's perceived rhythmic complexity and the predictability of each note goes down. And they also said that it would be harder to move to them as well. So, and then crucially, the urge to move and pleasure ratings also follow the inverted U in these clips too. So that's neat. And now I'm going to try and outdo Shinya with the most annoying clip of sound. Maybe not that one, but that's on the low end of complexity. Less annoying. So now we're getting into the more mid-complexity range and onto the groovy stuff.
Woo!
And now probably for the more irritating things.
Poor hard rock fans.
So there are at least a couple metalheads in the crowd here.
Exactly.
We'll see how many like this one. Yeah, even the metalheads don't like that one. Okay. So, where did we stimulate and how did we stimulate and all that? So, we used functional localization actually to get the SMA. So what we did is we would go 2 centimeters anterior or posterior from the vertex and then 1 centimeter lateral to the left side to hotspot the right foot. So we would see twitches from the right foot and then we would threshold this point to find the minimum amount of intensity it takes to elicit a twitch. And then we would move 2 centimeters anterior to that point, which again ideally puts us somewhere back around the vertex. And we would test them again at the lower intensity stimulation, and if they were still getting twitches, we would move 1 centimeter further anterior, just to make sure that we're out of motor cortex and firmly into SMA. And this is nice because it seems to correspond to some peak voxel activations from Thomas Matthews' fMRI study on groove. You can see these giant blobs here they're actually inside the brain, but like when you put this into brain sight, it gets a little messy. But you can see some rough correspondence here. Each of these corresponds to a single subject. Foot hotspot here in the yellow, and the SMA in red, if you can see. So for the control site, yeah, this formatting, man. I made this with slides, and it didn't really seem to export very well in PowerPoint. Oh well. But yeah, visual cortex, we would just go in the back of the head, and we would start stimulating until people saw phosphenes, which are these brief visual hallucinations.
A bit more groove.
And we would threshold that point as well, and this is to ensure that we're in visual cortex. Yep, so what are we seeing so far? I'm going to start with urge to move, and then I'll get to collision. So here what we see with the solid black line is the pre-TMS ratings, and then the dashed line is after they've been stimulated with the theta burst protocol. On the left and right we have the SMA stimulation session, and on the right in blue we have the V1 group. So what we see is that, well, we did indeed replicate the inverted U-shaped relationship between rhythmic complexity and groove, or at least the urge to move part of it. And this is good. Our subjects in Montreal are like the subjects from the internet. However, what we are a little disappointed to not see is this interaction between rhythmic complexity and then the stimulation site and pre and post stimulation. So we don't see anything about that yet. What about for pleasure? Pleasure will save us. No, it's exactly the same. So again, on the left here we have the SMA group, and then on the right we have the V1 session. And again, you don't really see any difference, but what is kind of notable is that, at least for these individual subject regressors, you see that maybe the user shifted around a little bit, maybe. And so what we thought
Is this groovy?
Even if there's no gross level effects here in the level model, then maybe there's some difference in the preferred level of rhythmic complexity. So I guess the X-intercept.
That's pretty good.
Or maybe the intensity of the experience is now a little bit higher after stimulation. So I guess that would be the Y-intercept. Now, so now we're asking, are the peaks of the curve more sensitive? And starting with the X-intercept, or the preferred level of rhythmic complexity to move to?
But this sound is not nice.
Here we have
Are the peaks more sensitive?
the
Preferred rhythmic.
preferred rhythmic complexity, so this is simpler and this is more complex for urge to move ratings, and then for pleasure down here. And again, you can see it's kind of all over the place. People's X-intercept isn't really changing. And then for the Y-intercept, so the intensity of the pleasure and the urge to move.
Activities in brain
doesn't change. So are the peaks more sensitive? It's looking like no.
The peaks more sensitive. Okay. Are brain regions more sensitive to rhythmic complexity?
So what does this mean for our model here? Well, it seems as though, at least right now, maybe the left SMA isn't actually involved in groove after all. And while this is a little bit disappointing and surprising to us at first, there is some other work that hasn't found an effective SMA stimulation on beat perception either. So maybe we're just marking up the wrong tree, maybe the right tree. But then one of these nodes over here, there's been more luck there. It could also be that we were never going to change the pleasure ratings anyway, because pleasure can result from a lot more than just rhythmic features. And then it could be that
Pleasure
the
comes
urge to
from
move
more.
might even be subcortical. So it could be happening in the basal ganglia, in the cerebellum, somewhere in the brainstem. And we would need something like, well, I guess you can't really see it because it got cut off on the slide, but I said something about TMS and source localized EEG to see what exactly we're stimulating, to determine whether this is actually, well, whether we're having the intended cortical effects. If we still don't see the effect, this would imply that it's probably subcortical.
Okay. Subcortical is probably
There are also some methodological limitations here. So
the source of
again, the data collection's ongoing, so I wouldn't count this out just yet.
Source
it
of
could be that
groove.
the ratings as a measure just aren't sensitive enough to capture effects at this small sample size. So again, we're about halfway done, and hopefully something will change, but maybe not. And with that, yeah, since it also got cut off, but maybe sensory motor synchronization or spontaneous movement recordings, maybe these kinds of measures would be more sensitive at this sample size. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for sticking around so late in the day. I'd like to thank the Penhune Lab for employing me.
It's like 3 hours later in Helsinki. See anyone say anything?
For letting me use his lab, and all of these people for paying me.
Thank you so much, Connor. Right, we have time for questions. Oh, over here. Do you have any evidence that your SMA stimulation was effective on a task that the SMA is known to be involved in?
Not yet.
Because I really caution you against interpreting a null in this case without any clear confirmation that you actually were able to do the SMA. TMS is so slippery. There are things where, for example, you can show after sequence learning, put people in the scanner, the patterns are less differentiated in multivariate analyses in the scanner, but behaviorally they're totally fine. Or CTVS effects and RTMS effects have different time courses. Sometimes the CTVS ones show up 40 minutes later and the RTMS ones are immediate. So there's so much that you can play with, plus the SMA is so hard to target. So I wouldn't give up just yet. Not that I'm advocating the SMA has to be involved in this, but I think you need more evidence before you can interpret this null so strongly, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're using Bayesian analyses, so it's leaning towards probably no effect. But again, we might not be hitting the SMA. It is tricky. It's pretty deep in there, but you know, we're cranking the TMS machine up quite a bit, and we're disqualifying subjects who can't get foot twitches. And so the foot area is at least as deep as like the SMA. So I feel like we probably are hitting it, but maybe not.
One side too.
Yeah, it could be bilateral, and we could definitely be seeing some compensation. And yeah, this is maybe why we need to add EEG.
Interesting index. The fact of seeing a reflex of the foot as the deepness
Peter, in the
of
middle here.
how
Question.
your stimulation is happening in the brain.
Thanks. So, it's all nicely designed and everything, but I know that some TMS researchers will self-stimulate, and so I'm just wondering if you, just on yourself, tried moving the coil around while listening to groovy music and see if you can get the urge to move to disappear with different placements.
Yeah, so, yes. If Carlotta Lega is in the room, she theta bursted me in Italy after I listened to some, and I listened to some of these clips after, and at least for the ones that I was really unfamiliar with, I really felt like some kind of difficulty finding the beat.
Interesting. If you
But yeah,
tap bursts,
I guess my experience didn't really generalize
doesn't
much.
mean-
Okay, thanks very much, Connor. Next we have Dan Cameron from Microsoft.
Right, slides are up here. Thanks everyone. Thanks to Mariani Foundation. It's so great that we have this meeting. I love it. And the local organizers, I know it's a lot of work. Also,
This is amazing.
Virginia and Maria for putting this together. A lot of fun so far. Okay, so Maria covered the background really well. So when we have some, but not too much, in the complexity, it motivates us to move. It makes us want to move. How does this work? What are the underlying mechanisms? We've heard about auditory motor dynamics. This is underlying rhythm perception generally, and especially when we can feel a beat that we want to move, that we can move to. Now, of course, the reward system is involved. We're talking about motivation and feeling good about it. That Thomas's work has shown reward activation with respect to these dynamics as well. And then, of course, I'm not going to get into this theory about how motor timing might be reducing prediction errors, and that underlies this relationship between syncopation and groove. But I'm interested in how this develops in infancy and in childhood. So one reason to wonder about this, one relevant factor here is whether this relationship, this inverted U, this relationship between syncopation and the urge to move, is flexible at all. Like in adults, you know, for example, between cultures or between experts, types of expertise, do we see differences in this inverted U? So Maria has some cross-cultural data from a few years ago where it's two cultures that don't differ in this inverted U relationship.
Cultures where there is no
cultures, it doesn't mean that there isn't another culture that would differ, but which I can
Interesting.
explain more if someone's interested. I published some
So
data
Ghana.
that showed there was no difference between expert dancers and non-dancers. It was a large sample of both, a reasonable large sample. Thomas and I have both published kind of differing mixed evidence about whether musicians and non-musicians do or don't differ in terms of this inverted U. And then some really interesting data from Victor, who's here. There he is. Showing that older adults have a slightly affected inverted U, where they seem to be having higher groove ratings for the highest complex rhythms, which I don't know if there's an easy explanation for that, but a dramatic effect of neurological disease, in the case of Parkinson's disease. So when there's this underlying neural mechanism that's affected in terms of reward and beat processing and motor processing in Parkinson's disease, we see a dramatic shift, a flattening of that inverted U. But for all these other types of experience, cultural experience, expertise of dancers, musicians, age, at least, or at most, it's kind of a slight effect, a little shifting of that inverted U here and there. We're not seeing dramatic changes. Okay, so with that in mind, what about in the other end of the spectrum in terms of the lifespan and how things can develop over time, so infancy and childhood? So why might this relationship develop in infancy and childhood? So beat perception seems like it might be necessary for these effects of syncopation, right? Syncopation is kind of defined as like being not on the beat, so you need a percept of the beat in the first place. And it seems like this is something that develops in childhood and infancy, so I'll talk about that in a minute. It's also this idea that beat-based motor timing may be reducing prediction errors in syncopation and its relation to reward. So, okay, this ability for the motor system to be processing beat timings seems like it might be critical for this relationship. Not necessarily beat synchronized movement itself, but motor system timing. You can have the latter without the former. Okay, so where do we see these things unfolding in infancy and childhood? We've already heard so much great work on this from the session this morning. Sahar's really amazing new data from preterm infants, and from Trin's poster talk just a little while ago as well. So we know by even in the third trimester and with premature infants, there's some and from Henry Koning's lab and more recent work as well, newborn brain responses are sensitive to the beat and maybe even anticipatory processing like Sahar showed. We don't know what sources those are coming from. Is that auditory system? Is that motor system? We don't fully know, but at least there's some sensitivity to beat structure. By 5 months or even earlier, 3 months in Trin's data,
You understand
infants are
beat?
moving more for rhythms compared to other types of sound sequences, like speech or other like music that isn't very rhythmic. They're sensitive to it. They're also tempo sensitive even at early stages like this, where faster rhythms will elicit more movement. Now, they don't really synchronize. There's bouts of kind of spontaneous synchronization that are maybe or maybe not intentional, during which the infants tend to smile more. That was reported in this 2010 paper. Okay. But it's not happening regularly. They can't sustain synchronization at this early stage.
Okay.
By 12 months of age, Aaron Hanlon's shown this great work that they are sensitive to they've encultured to not just the beat structure, the kind of steady beat that we feel with musical rhythms, but the patterns of strong and weak beats and how those unfold in longer sequences, whereas that enculturation has not happened by 6 months, for example. But we don't really see adult-like beat synchronization in terms of production or perceptual sensitivity to hierarchical beat perception until late adolescence or even into adulthood. So this is like these sets of skills and abilities are slow developing from infancy. There's some things happening in infancy and before babies are born up into adulthood. So this is a gradually unfolding system and process, set of processes. So what might be required for this relationship between syncopation and the motivation to move? Well, if it's just auditory kind of sensitivity to beat structure, regularities in a sequence, then maybe newborns will be, or even earlier, might be sensitive to syncopation and move more for this kind of medium level of syncopation. Or if it's really motor system sensitivity that is processing the beat timing, maybe it's a little bit later in infancy. Or if it's more hierarchical and metrical structure, maybe after 12 months, you'll see these kinds of this inverted U. Or if it really requires the ability to strongly synchronize and have that precision of moving your own body in time to the beat, then you might not see this unfolding only slowly and into adulthood or adolescence. adolescents at least. Okay, so we wanted to look at this in children. We tested 125 children between 3 and 6 years old, mostly from North America. They participated from home using this browser-based platform called Lookit. So they were in a high chair or on their parents' lap. Oh no, this is not the infants. These are 3 to 6-year-old children. They're too big for that. So we did 2 different tasks with them, but both of the tasks involved 2 of 3 syncopation conditions. So all the children heard either kind of low and medium syncopation, low and high syncopation, or medium and high syncopation. And the stimuli I used were from Maria's 2014 paper, these drum breaks, which I can give more detail about if you're interested. So the first task was a 2 alternative force choice task. We had a little scenario to make it friendly for children. There's going to be a birthday party. You want your friends to dance at this party. Here's different drummers. And we would show them cartoon animals. They would hear one rhythm at a time. And then we would ask them, which is better for dancing? So here's an example of what the trial would sound like. These videos of the children dancing and say, on a scale of 1 to 7, how much did they move? So then we were measuring how synchronized they are. So here's what the latter task looks like. This is not like a control task where we're telling them exactly this type of movement. They don't have to synchronize. This is quite naturalistic. They're at home. They're comfortable, which might be relevant. So what did we find? First, I'm going to show you some data from adults, which was just we used the same set of stimuli with adults in the same type of task. There were no cartoon animals, but we would play the same kind of trials and ask which gives you more of an urge to move along. And we replicated the inverted U with this force choice task with this subset of rhythms. So I'm going to try to explain this here. So these are different scores, subtracting the proportion of trials in which a type of rhythm was chosen as better for dancing, and with always subtracting the type of rhythm with lower syncopation from the type with greater. So when the participants who heard medium and low syncopation rhythms looked at their data, there was a clear bias for medium syncopation. Comparing high and medium, there's a clear bias for medium syncopation. This is exactly the opposite we expected, and then no significant difference between high and low syncopation. Okay, so what did we find in children? We found that there was a bias for medium over low. So this one part of the inverted U is present in 3 to 6-year-old children. We did not find an effect of medium over high syncopation rhythms. And I'm not going to go into details about that, but we have some ideas that we're planning to follow up. So there was no bias for medium versus high. And we also did a follow-up experiment. So this is a fully within subject design.
Medium
so
syncopation.
All these are new set of children.
So it's going with the idea of grooviness being in the middle of syncopation.
Found the same pattern. A bias for medium over low, but not between the other two. Conversely, there was no effective age here. The 3-year-olds were as likely to be biased toward medium over low as the 6-year-olds were. So this isn't something that's unfolding in this period. It seems to be present. By 3 years old, there's a stable bias to move more for medium or low. And we found this in the behavioral task as well. So this is how much they move. This is the different score of overall ratings. So they moved more, those who heard medium and low syncopation rhythms, for the medium syncopation rhythms. So in perception and behavior, 3 to 6-year-olds are moving more and want to move more for medium and low syncopation.
Add one
Again, this
more
wasn't associated with
sound.
age. Okay, so I want to move to infants now. I'll try to quickly get through
Right.
this. This is a very simple
Move to infants.
task. We collected 79 infants over in this experiment. There's been 2 experimental experiments. Again, they were at home, so near. They were either on their parents' lap or in a high chair or in some sort of position seated stably on the floor. It was a very simple thing. We used the exact same low and medium syncopation rhythms that we had used in the previous experiment. They would watch an experimenter drumming on the beat. You'll see a video of it in a minute. So what the experimenter was doing was not the rhythm they were hearing, but it aligned with the beat positions for all the different rhythms. It was the exact same video in all conditions. Parents, we encouraged them to give their infants a drum or something that they can drum on. The idea was to encourage them to engage with these rhythms and see if they would engage with one or the other. They didn't have to drum. They didn't have to use the drum. And again, we had people, without being able to hear the rhythms, watching these videos, the infants would just give a rating how much movement was there, how much same. Now, after we ran a version of this for about 40 subjects, a lot of feedback we got from parents was that it was after the video ended
Ça
that
pète dans tous les
they would
sens.
come online and start moving more. They seemed to be engaged after the video ended. So we made a second version of this in which we had kind of two phases. We would say, we would do just as I described, the experimenter drumming, you'll see in a minute. Then after we'd say, now it's your turn, and then we would play the exact same rhythm in the trial, and we could look at both phases of the experiment that way. Okay, so let's get to, this is what the trial looked like. This is what the infant saw.
What is that?
It's a bit strange because she's not drumming the rhythm that you hear. It is better aligned with the beat than what you can see here. I think there's an AV misalignment. And this is what the infants look like. Okay, so what did we find? We found that infants also have a bias to move more for medium than low syncopation rhythms. So there's the same different scores here. In both versions of the experiment, they moved more when we encouraged them. So when, as I said, in the second version where we said, now it's your turn, and tried to engage them more, they did move more there, but this bias for medium over low was present in both of them. And I will say for the second version,